There's a reaction a woman has, and she doesn't even realize she's having it. It's not the smile, it's not the, hey, how are you? It's not even how fast she replies to your message. It's something else. Something so small, so quick, that most men go their whole lives without ever noticing it. And if you've already seen this reaction in a woman, I need to tell you something right now before we go any further. She's already yours, she just doesn't know it yet. Stay with me until the end of this video because I'm going to show you exactly what this reaction is, why it happens, and what to do, or what not to do once you spot it. Because most men mess everything up right at the moment they should be reaping what they've already earned. Before we start, if you've made it this far and never subscribed to the channel, I need to ask you something. Subscribe now. It's not just a number to me, it's because every week I bring real behavioral signs based on how the female mind actually works. No fluff, no magazine tips. And you don't want to miss the next video because it directly builds on what I'm about to teach you here. Drop a like too. It helps this video reach other men who are exactly like you, trying to understand what's really going on in a woman's head when she likes someone. All right, let's get into it. You've probably heard this before, read her body language. Except nobody explains how to read it. Everyone says, watch if she smiles, watch if she keeps eye contact, as if that were enough. It's not. A smile can be faked, eye contact can be trained, manners can be learned. But there's one thing the human brain can't fake because it happens before conscious thought even kicks in. Behavioral researchers call it an automatic response, a reaction that passes through the body before it passes through reason. And that reaction is exactly what this video is about. Sign number 1, the pattern break. Pay close attention to this one because it's the first major sign. Every woman has a behavioral pattern. A way of walking, a way of talking, a texting rhythm, a default tone of voice she uses with everyone. When she meets a man who genuinely affects her, that pattern breaks. She starts talking faster or much slower. She laughs at moments she normally wouldn't. She repeats things he said without even realizing it. She steers the conversation back to talking about him. This isn't a coincidence. It's her nervous system reacting to a stimulus that he, without knowing it, triggered. And here's the detail almost nobody talks about. This pattern break happens mostly when she thinks no one is paying attention. That's exactly why so many men miss it. They're too busy trying to impress her and they don't notice she's already reacted. If you've ever noticed something like this in a woman, drop a like on this video right now. I want to know, through the numbers, how many of you have lived through this exact scene? And if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time. Sign number 2, the silence that speaks. This one is subtle but devastating once you understand it. Women, generally speaking, are better verbal communicators than men. That's a behavioral fact, not an opinion. They process emotion through speech. Except there's one very specific moment when an interested woman stops talking. She goes quiet when he's around, not because she's out of things to say, but because her brain is processing a strong emotional input, and in that processing, speech gets stuck. If you've ever seen a woman who's talkative with everyone, funny, relaxed, and suddenly next to one specific man, she becomes quieter, more reserved, choosing her words more carefully, that's not disinterest, it's the opposite. It's her brain working on a different frequency. Let me tell you a real situation that illustrates exactly this. A man, I'll call him Raphael, worked at the same company as a female colleague. She was outgoing, talked to everyone, always struck up conversation in the hallway, the break room, meetings. But with him, it was different. She became more serious. She replied fast, but with shorter answers. She avoided being alone with him in a room. For months, Raphael read this as disinterest. She probably doesn't like me, he thought. But it was exactly the opposite. Months later, when they finally grew closer, she confessed, "I used to get nervous around you. That's why I stayed quieter." Her silence wasn't rejection, it was emotional regulation. Her body was managing a reaction she couldn't even explain to herself. If you've ever been through a situation like Raphael's, comment below, "I've lived this." I read the comments, and sometimes one of your stories becomes the next video on this channel. Sign number 3, selective memory. This sign is one of the most reliable there is because it's almost impossible to fake. Pay attention to how much she remembers details you mentioned casually without any importance. You mentioned offhand that you like a certain type of food. Weeks later, she brings it up. You once mentioned in passing an old dream of yours. Months later, she asks about that dream. This happens because the human brain prioritizes memory based on emotional relevance. We forget 90% of what we hear day to day, but we hold on in detail to whatever is tied to a strong emotion. If a woman holds on to details about you that you don't even remember saying, she hasn't forgotten you for a single second since you said it. Sign number 4, unconscious physical proximity. Now, a body-based sign, but not the obvious kind everyone already talks about. I'm not talking about touch. I'm talking about distance. Notice in a room with several people who her body naturally leans toward. Not her face, not her eyes, her torso, her feet. The human body, especially the female body in social contexts, tends to position itself in a protected, neutral way in most interactions. But when genuine attraction is present, body alignment shifts without the person even realizing it. The feet point toward the source of interest. The torso leans even subtly closer. This has been studied for decades in behavioral analysis, and it's one of the hardest indicators to consciously fake because most people never pay attention to their own feet. If this video is making sense to you so far, drop a like and hit the notification bell, because in the next video, I'm going to show you the opposite of all this, the signs that she's actually faking interest, and I really believe you're going to want to know the difference. Sign number 5, the question she keeps asking. This is a classic that flies under the radar. When a woman asks about your day, your week, your plans, repeatedly, that's not politeness. Politeness is asking once. Interest is asking again. It's remembering your previous answer and connecting it to the current question. So, how did that meeting you mentioned go? That means she's been thinking about you between the last conversation and this one. The brain only invests continuous attention in what it considers important. If she's investing continuous attention in you without you having to ask for it, that's data, not a guess. Sign number 6, nervousness that turns into excessive care. This is perhaps the most beautiful sign of all, and also the most misread. Sometimes interest doesn't show up as flirting. It shows up as care. She asks if you've eaten. She texts to check if you got home safe. She worries if you're tired, if you're sleeping well, if you're actually okay, not just on the surface. This isn't just friendship, as many men interpret out of fear of getting their hopes up. Consistent, directed care that goes beyond basic manners is one of the most reliable signs of an emotional bond forming. Women take care of the people they've already started to see as theirs, even before they admit it to themselves. Sign number 7, the involuntary comparison. There's a sign almost nobody talks about because it's hard to spot from the outside, but once you pay attention, you'll recognize it instantly. It's when she starts, without meaning to, comparing other men to you. She meets someone new, a suitor, a date, a coworker, and in the middle of the conversation, without realizing it, she lets slip things like, "He's not as funny as," or "He doesn't pay attention the way." Sometimes she doesn't even finish the sentence. Sometimes she doesn't even realize she made the comparison. This happens because when a woman develops real interest in a man, her brain creates a kind of reference point, an internal benchmark. And from that moment on, every new interaction passes, even unconsciously, through that filter of comparison. If you've become the standard by which she measures other men, without ever asking for it, you already occupy a space in her mind that most men will never reach. Let me tell you one more real situation, because it ties together the signs I've shown you so far really well. A woman, I'll call her Camila, had a very close friend group, the kind that tells each other everything. And there was a man, a college classmate, who she kept insisting was just a friend. Except her friends noticed something else. Every time his name came up in conversation, Camila's posture would change. She'd become more alert. She'd laugh louder whenever someone told a story involving him, and, without realizing it, she always steered the conversation back to him, even while trying to hide it. One of her friends, joking around, said one day, "Camila, you bring him up even when we change the subject." She denied it right away. But 2 weeks later, she admitted, "I didn't realize I was doing that." That's the point. Often, a woman is the last person to admit to herself what her own behavior has been showing for weeks. Her friends notice first. The people around her notice first. And with attention, you can notice too, even before she has the courage to admit it. If you've ever been the topic that keeps coming back in a group of friends, or you've noticed this in a woman before, drop a like here. And if this video is already making sense to you, make sure you're subscribed because part 2 of this content is coming soon. And now we get to the reaction that gives this video its title. The reaction that, if you've already seen it, means she's already yours. It's the moment when she reacts to something involving you. A piece of news, a joke, someone mentioning your name, with an expression that lasts less than a second before she has time to control her face. Behavioral scientists call this a microexpression. It's the true, raw, unfiltered reaction that shows up before the social mask kicks in. If someone mentions your name near her, and for a split second her face lights up, her eyes open a little wider, the corners of her mouth lift before she even realizes she's smiling, that's not fake. That's impossible to fake. You don't control a microexpression. It happens before conscious thought can interfere. If you've ever seen this reaction in a woman, about you, I'm not here to give you empty hope. I'm telling you a behavioral fact. She already feels something genuine for you. What's missing now isn't her liking you. It's you knowing how to handle it the right way. And here's the most important point of this entire video, because knowing how to spot the signs without knowing how to act on them is useless. Most men, once they notice these signs, make a classic mistake. They push too hard. They turn the decoded behavior into pressure. They text too much. They ask directly, "Do you like me?" They try to rush something that needs time to mature. That breaks the spell. Because attraction doesn't like pressure. Attraction likes room to grow. What actually works is this. Stay consistent. Keep giving genuine attention without becoming too available. Let her feel the safety of being near you, without feeling like she's being chased. Real interest, when it isn't suffocated, grows on its own. There's a huge difference between presence and pressure. Presence is you continuing to exist in her life in a light, confident way, without demanding anything in return. Pressure is you trying to force a response before she's ready. Men who understand that difference are the ones who build solid relationships. Men who don't end up pushing away the very woman who is already interested, simply because they didn't know how to wait for the right moment to act. And here's something I need to make very clear. Identifying these signs isn't about manipulating anyone. It's about seeing clearly what's already happening so you don't spend years next to someone misreading everything, thinking she doesn't like you, when in reality she's just waiting for you to notice. If this video made you think of someone specific, or if you've recognized any of these signs in a woman in your life, share this video with a friend who needs to hear this too. Sometimes you just need someone from the outside to confirm what you were already seeing. Let me quickly recap the signs I showed you today. First, the pattern break in behavior. Second, the silence that replaces her usual chatter. Third, selective memory for the details you mentioned. Fourth, unconscious physical proximity. Fifth, the recurring questions about your life. Sixth, care that goes beyond politeness. Seventh, the involuntary comparison with other men. And finally, the microexpression she can't control. None of these signs on its own is absolute proof. But when 2, 3, 4 of them show up together, repeatedly over time, that stops being a coincidence and becomes a pattern. And pattern in human behavior is the closest thing to certainty we can get. If 2 or more of these signs have already shown up in front of you, my friend, she's already yours. All that's left is for you to act the right way at the right time, without rushing and without fear. If this video helped you see something you hadn't noticed before, that's exactly why this channel exists. Subscribe now, drop a like, and hit the bell because every week I bring a new video about behavior, attraction, and relationships. Always based on how the mind actually works. No romanticizing, no fluff. And in the next video, I'm going to show you the opposite of all this. The signs that she's faking interest, and how to tell the difference from genuine interest. If you want to know the difference before it's too late, you already know what to do. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then.